This video is brought to you by HalloCasa. Our tool transforms independent local real estate agents to global real estate agents. Create your own profile for free and get contacted by international investors. Sign up with the link in the description.
Hello and welcome everyone to our 144th session of HalloCasa. My name is Michael and today I'm talking to François Angel in Lisbon, Portugal. François is architect, real estate consultant and also construction supervisor, helping and guiding real estate investors in Lisbon along the tedious and complex buying process if you're not aware of that. So really pumped to have him on the show. François, thank you so much for your time. We are here in a beautiful studio. It feels almost like in a podcast, Know Thyself. I don't know if you're aware of that one. It's very warm. Thank you so much also for providing it. And I love podcast sessions in person. We have the ability to really engage on a personal level. We met a couple of weeks ago personally. Yes. And you impressed me a lot with your detailed knowledge on real estate and especially as an architect, and also your very strong angle concerning construction, and maybe also tips and tricks which many people are not aware of, and where you can definitely step in and help and say, hey, listen, this might be a problem, maybe not today, but maybe at a future time. One more time, François. Welcome to the show. Why don't you introduce yourself to our audience?
Okay, thank you, Michael. It's a pleasure to be here with you. As you said, we met a while ago. I came in Portugal now almost 4.5 years ago with my wife and kids. I worked here as an architect in a small construction company, learning the process and the language and getting fit to the market. You said a lot of compliments to me. Thank you very much. I don't know if it's this much, but I get experience and I try to learn every day to be helpful to the people who wants to invest here.
Perfect. Let me quickly start from the very beginning. First and foremost, you're from Lausanne, a very beautiful town in Switzerland, the paradise on earth for many people. Why would anyone move away from this beautiful place and then choose Lisbon and Portugal?
I have the thing I hear my wife when I propose her to come to Portugal. So I am a very family man. I'm 32 and now I have 3 kids. So as you can understand, I'm a bit young for 3 kids. But my family are here for 10 years and I wanted to work on my own for a very long time. And I didn't want to do that far from my family. That's why I decided to move. And also in my field as an architect, as an investor in real estate, Portugal is a very good place, even more today. But at the time it was very good also. So I thought there was an opportunity. A lot of people came because of the tax regime, and I thought I could provide a service with the European standards, middle European standard, that maybe Portugal couldn't provide. That's why I came in the first place. So
you concluded your education in Switzerland, though?
Yes, I did.
Where?
In Freiburg. So I spent 6 years in Lausanne in a school called EPFL, and I finished in a school called HES in Switzerland, in Freiburg. And after that, I wanted to see something else. And actually, it was the best decision of my life to come here. Because what I did so far, I don't think I would have been able to do it in Switzerland. Because the competition is much harder. And it's and I like it. The weather, the food, the people, the education, the safety. It's a long list of good things.
Comparing this market 4.5 years ago to now, 4.5 years. 4.5 years don't sound like much, but we come from post-COVID to now, and we see a lot of dynamic in the market. From your perspective, how has the market evolved? And have you maybe also taken advantage of maybe still some bargains in real estate by that time?
When I arrived between the first and second wave of COVID. At the time, everything was closed. Nobody could go out. Everyone was working from home, except construction. So actually, when I arrived, the only thing that didn't change in the city was construction. When I was going to work, there was no one on the street. The only cars I was meeting was utility cars because they were going on construction. And because people had time, they started to do a lot of construction on their house and things. So when I arrived, the market was working very, very well. And the stress was more about real estate. The market was working super well before COVID because of those tax regime and all those retired people coming here to avoid taxes and things like this. The stress was that maybe the market will not start again as it was before. So people were preoccupied with this topic. And actually, when COVID finished, the market was even better than before. And so for the construction and for the architecture jobs and things like this, it's very good when real estate works well, especially in a city like Lisbon, where there is a lot of things that have to be refurbished, when there is a lot of construction, a need of new properties because the market is very saturated. We'll talk about that later. But it's for our field, when real estate market has a low offer and a high demand, it means we have a lot of work. So for us, COVID was actually a good thing because people started to do it.
Regarding the market right now, give us a snapshot. How can we imagine right now the market, especially on Lisbon side, in real estate transactions in general, but also regarding architectural projects and also construction?
So first of all, we need to talk about something particular in Portugal, especially in Lisbon. I'm specialized in Lisbon and surrounding, but mainly center of Lisbon. And the major problem is the licensing. The licensing takes a very long time, can take up to 2 years sometimes. And so when you are thinking about investing for small projects and things like this, it doesn't go in the time frame anymore. So the first problem was the licensing. So 2 years ago, the population did some strikes and things like this. Population were not very satisfied about what was happening. The rents were too high, and so they had some protests. So they did some law called mais habitação, meaning more habitation, and it was a group of law, a bag of new laws that were supposed to help architects and provide an environment to lower the rents, to have more apartments to rent, to give access to Lisbon to the people that are from Portugal, because that's the main problem. There is a huge gentrification. The problem is the licensing. So they tried to say that the responsibility of the licensing will not be on the municipality anymore. It will be on the architect, meaning that the architect will take the responsibility and will not process anything at the municipality anymore, not deliver anything. And at the end of the construction, there will be an inspection from the municipality to see if everything is correct. Actually, it was, in my opinion, maybe it's too political, but I think it was not such a good idea because it was really trying to please the people, but it was not very technical because the problem is still the same. Instead of there was a lot of congestion of administration at the beginning of the process, but at least when you had the authorization, it was okay. Now you do all the investment, everything is done, everything is finished, and if something is wrong, then you need to go back up, and modify and things like this. So you have the thing, everything is done, and actually it's not. And so it takes very long to put this in place. Now it's almost a year and a half, and the government is very closed on that. So we don't really know. It's supposed to be performing, but it's not really. The time frame of licensing is still the same, and the rents are still shooting up because it's the only solution would be to build more new build. But the problem is that the investors, at least in the center of Lisbon, they are not aiming to do cheap renting. They want to maximize the value of their surface. So they are building things that are for luxury. There is a huge amount of Americans that are here in Portugal. that wants to live here, and they want to have decent and luxury product with a general AC, ventilation, sometimes heating on the floor. They are more reassured about concrete builds. We'll talk about this later, but the tradition of construction in Portugal is not concrete. And so the new build now are actually not accessible for the Portuguese. So the market right now of architecture is a bit moved by the political aspect, especially that I think it's 1 year ago, something like this, 1 year and a half, there was a switch of government, and it was pre-election, those measures. So they wanted to, I think it was political, to keep the power. Now that the power changed side, it's more calm. They let the professional do, and this is it, I think.
Where are new constructions happening right now? Is it totally fragmented across the city, or are there certain areas which are being identified maybe by the municipalities to say, actually, we are aware of the lack of affordable housing. We maybe also chose certain suburbs, certain outskirts in order to allow for certain, let's say in order to allow for affordable housing to be happening.
So I'm not aware of all the new builds, but there is the super center, the triangle between Lapa, Santush, and Príncipe Real, where the new builds are very rare because the price per meter square is very high already, and for promoters it's not very interesting. So it happens, but it's rare. There is some new builds around the super center. I would say it's 10-15% of the market. But the outskirts in the neighborhoods, so in the north, around Loures, there is a place like Beato. There is a lot in Barreiro, on the other side of the bridge. Those places where the rents are lower, there is a lot of new builds that are affordable. New builds of buildings or individual houses. For example, in Loures, they are building new streets with urban planning. So you buy, for example, there is a solution to speed the process of licensing. There is an urban plan. You buy a land where there is already all the different areas where you can build, and it's not pre-approved, but let's call it like this. So you speed up the process. It still takes a year. Huh? It takes a long time. So
you just mentioned a very interesting neighborhood, which I always wonder about, which is Beato. Mm-hmm. Is there anything planned to use actually this real estate, this entire space there, which is basically empty, in my opinion, and could be reused for housing instead of maybe outdated use for old port facilities? That's only my ignorant question. Maybe I'm totally off there.
Beato is a district that was a bit protected from the real estate growth in the last years. Now the investors are getting interested to it. I mean, they were, because now construction starts there. It's moving a lot. But we are talking about middle-term projects. It's not quick investments. Beato is in Lisbon, so it's close to the center and things like this. It's interesting, but you need a lot of imagination. And as a new investor, I don't know if I would go in Beato, because now we are getting a bit deeper, but when you are doing an investment in real estate, you need to consider risk management. And if it's your first investment in Lisbon, the risk of Beato is higher than other sector, because it's interesting in terms of price per meter square, but the price per meter square that you can obtain at the end is not very, very high, because right now the foreigners and the people with who you can really make profits, are not going there. They don't want to live in Beato. The atmosphere is not very nice. It's a poor area still. It's changing. There are some commercial area, some malls and things like this. It is safe. Huh? We are in Portugal. It's very, very safe. But it's not the most. Let's call it this. It's not the most charming Lisbon that you know. And when people come in Lisbon, they think about azulejos. They think about the sea, the beach. Beato is not this idea of Lisbon. So, but as an investment, it can be interesting if you want to make small apartments and things like this.
You just mentioned one keyword, square meter or price per square meter. What can I, as someone who doesn't know anything about the Lisbon real estate market, what can I imagine more or less regarding price per square meter when buying?
So recently I've seen an article that was listing the average price of the prime of each city. And Lisbon, so the average of the prime, so we are talking about the best, so Liberdade, near Parque Eduardo VII, the best of the best, it's 10,800 euros per meter square. So that's the best of the best of something new. So not new build, but of something ready to live. In general, you can expect in the center of Lisbon. I'm not talking about neighborhoods like Beato or Loures where the prices are lower, but you can expect between, let's say, 6 by being large, 6 to 8.5, 9,000, depending. If you have an elevator, if you have a parking, if you have a view, if you have a terrace, in which type of district you are living. If you are living in a very touristic place, then the price might go a little bit lower because the quality is not as good. If you are living close to the embassies, those things. But it is, in my opinion, still an affordable city comparing to the attractivity that this city provides. You have the tax legislation that is very attractive, a lot of international schools. I think it's around 50. It's very safe. So there is a lot of things that are very attractive. And politically, it's stable. So for someone who wants to settle here, it is very interesting.
Let's talk about SquareWay. You have your own company. You have very high degree in your university and in your educational background. You then decided after working also on the ground locally, getting the expertise, you said, you know what, it's time for me to create my own venture, to build my own company. First and foremost, how were the first months and also years? You have been doing that for a couple of years now. It's always a struggle, I assume, and I would like always also to know how the entrepreneurial journey for someone has been, especially in the very early days.
So that's a good question. At the beginning, you have a lot of ideas and you have a lot of expectation on how your work will be and things like this. First of all, I think, you need to work a lot. That's inevitable. But you also need to be a bit lucky. So I worked in this company for 1 year and I was working like if it was mine. And the customers, they felt it. So when I left, some of them, one particularly, followed me later, 1 or 2 months after. So it helped me to start. So I didn't look after a client for very long because I already had a reputation for few customers. And we also did, with my family, an investment in real estate. We started investing in real estate as investors. So I had, at the beginning, already 2 projects that was fueling me and sustaining me to live. And 2 projects, compared to now, and at the time already, it was giving me enough time to structure my company in terms of accounting, of communication, of organization, like the basic. Like for an architect, you need to do presentation on papers, your website, your business card, trying to start to be a commercial, try to meet people. So it was perfect at the beginning because I had 2 projects, 2 construction to follow, and the rest of the time I could work on visiting apartments. I was visiting, and I am still visiting a lot of apartments to know what's happening on the market, to be aware of the last opportunities, to keep an eye also on the price of what's happening, to keep a fit on what's happening. And I could organize myself like this. So at the beginning, it was like this. My days where I would say I was working 8 hours a day as an architect and 4 hours a day as a commercial and a bit as a secretary, doing my emails and things like this. So it was okay.
Give us an overview of your service offerings. What exactly can people expect when they reach out to you, or why should they reach out to you?
So I have different activities. I have a real estate company, so I can help for someone to find a property or to sell it or to rent it. I am an architect, as we discussed this since the beginning, so I can help on developing a project and supervising the construction with people I work personally. So the key word is I do turnkey projects, meaning I'm here to make the process more easy because I did this process myself with my personal investment, and I can help you and make you gain time by sharing my experience. When I find an apartment, or if you have an apartment, I can tell you, I can consult you. You can consult me, for you to know if it's worth it, what I think about this investment. And after, I can also develop the project that will be matching to the demand that I know, because I'm a local, I live here. I have friends that are promoters. I am also one. I have a real estate company, so I know what the demand looks like according to the district. I am Swiss, so planning and organization, it's in my nature. So for me, the supervision is something that I actually like, and the construction companies I work with, they like working with me because I'm organized, I structure. I'm here to make the process fluid with no delays and the less possible problems. Of course, I cannot tell you that there is never any problem. It always occurs. It's normal, but it's to reduce them. In a way, I offer my person as someone you can trust to make this project happen. From far, with you not experimenting all what I experienced at the beginning, where you need to, it's a bit hectic, because you don't know. In Portugal, the construction world is a bit problematic. The labor can be very, very bad. You can have delays that are enormous. I can talk about this later. In the past, I had some construction that were announced 6 months, and they were delivered after 1 year, and they were not finished. So that's this that I can offer.
You are branding yourself as Swiss. In a couple of months, years, you're going to be Portuguese as well.
Yes.
And I am basically summarizing your service offerings in my head in the following way. I am Joao. I say I have a budget. François, can you help me find something in order to maybe create appreciating asset class, so real estate? And maybe can you also do the construction work and create like an architectural plan? That's, I believe, one use case. The other one is, hey, I am Isabella, I'm also Portuguese, and I inherited maybe this house from my grandmother, from my family, and I would like to make it nicer, more modern. Can you help me out?
Exactly. It's exactly this. I can intervene in each step of the process where you need help. Of course, when you're an investor, if you work with me, what is nice is first you talk only with one person from the beginning to the end. So I'm aware of everything. And second of all, because I also do investment myself for now 3 years, I will have a scope of activities that is a bit wider than just an architect. So when I draw, when I design, I have I have a clearer picture. I have a wider frame of why I'm doing the things. It's not just because I like or just because it looks nice. It's because I know what people want, and I'm good at that. I'm good at knowing what people want at that time because I have taste, but also because I see it around, because I visit a lot of apartments. I'm in contact with real estate agents and so on.
May I ask you an ignorant question? Architect, does it mean interior design, exterior design, construction? Is it all around, or do you focus on one particular segment?
So that's an excellent question. So interior designer are people that cannot put a licensing in a municipality. Honestly, a lot of people make a difference, especially architects that are very on top of their degree and things like this. I think it's not because you are an interior designer or an interior architect that you are worse than a full architect. It doesn't mean anything. An architect means that he can process licensing in a municipality, meaning he can do new builds. When do you need to put a licensing? You need to put a licensing when you want to modify, for example, if you have something existing. If you want to modify the facade, make a new opening, for example, a door, a window, change the color of the facade, raise the roof, or change the structure inside. For this, you need to make a communication to the municipality. If you just break a separation between two rooms or a living room and a kitchen, or things like that, you don't need. So that's the difference between an interior designer and an architect. So if someone presents himself as an interior designer and you just want to break separation, it's perfectly fine. You don't need an architect. An architect just knows a bit more about the municipality and where you are at risk or not. An interior designer also will probably know a little bit less of how the construction is, but it's not totally true. Some people have way more experience. It varies.
In Lisbon, the construction method and also the state of construction. There's a lot of construction going on, a lot of renovation happening and stuff. From an architectural point of view, what's the quality? What's also maybe the characteristic of it for someone who has never been to Lisbon to get an idea of what to expect when coming to Lisbon, and also maybe even ideas like the material being used?
So let's be straightforward. The construction in Portugal is the jungle. The labor is very, very bad, mainly. There are some good people, but they are difficult to find. And I suffered from it. They are not very, the finishings, you have difficulties to get good finishings. That's very difficult, and you have difficulties to finish in time. As an individual, it's almost impossible to finish in time because you have no leverage. Let's put our feet in the shoes of a construction company. You have an investor that is building, that is doing a building of 8 floors. It's a huge investment for this construction company. It will have an aura for his image and things like this. So we will give the priority to them. And you, with your little apartment, when you will get at the end of the construction, you will have no leverage because you are not relevant. Even if you get upset against them, they don't care. You represent 5% of what of their total work. So you are not very heavy in the balance. That's why I believe going with a supervisor is important, because the supervisor doesn't have just you. He has many other clients. So you create, in a way, an association of customers. And all together, even if you don't know each other, you represent a wave for this construction company. So if something goes wrong, your supervisor will have a leverage to make the things going. That's how I work. Luckily, my partner in construction is very good now. I found a very good one, but it took me a while, and I had to meet a lot to find a good one. But before, I was doing like this. I was like, okay, if I'm not happy, everybody goes out. Of course, it's a bluff because you cannot do this. But
You mentioned before the construction methods. What is it like?
So there is a way of construction in Portugal that is called tabique. It's structures that are made out of wood, cement, nails. It's in Portuguese they call this bricolage. In French we say bricolage. It's really, they put what they found. And sometimes you visit an apartment or a house and you want to break something, and you have the thing, oh, it's a very thin structure, but it's not. You can't, because everything is tied together, and to break it, it's complicated. And you will ask for an engineer and things like this, and everybody will tell you, no, it's not possible. So when you do a visit of an apartment, I recommend that you ask for an architect, you consult an architect for him to tell you how it is, how it was built, from what time, and you will know. He will help you. Maybe this architect, if you want to go even deeper, will ask you to consult with an engineer to have the confirmation. It's something you can do before buying. It's actually something quite common. People do it often because a consulting hour doesn't cost a lot compared to the price of the apartment. It's like having a lawyer. So it's something quite common for the construction.
Regarding the stability of the buildings in terms of earthquake risk, different elements which are paramount, can be always expected in Lisbon. Is that something which has always been taken care of when doing new constructs, or is it something which just inherently grew? Is there also maybe a legal scheme or a legal constraint which everyone has to comply to when doing new constructs? How can I imagine that?
So, well, first of all, I'm not a civil engineer, and I'm not also an historian in earthquake in Portugal. Recently, we had an earthquake that was quite powerful. For the joke, it was during the night, around 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and it started shaking. My wife and my kids, we run under the table because we were like, okay, it's happening, because everyone is waiting for a big earthquake here. My kids, every month, they have trainings where they go under the table, like in Japan. So the risk exists, and everybody's aware. The reality of the construction is very different. After 75, a lot of people, they had a need of housing, so they built a lot very fast. And when you have those type of time in the construction, they don't build very well and not very consciously of the dangers and things like this. They just need to make houses, which they did. And you can see them when you walk in the surrounding of Lisbon. You can recognize that style. Those houses are not, even though they are concrete, they are not going to resist very strong, in my opinion. All the buildings that are in wood are probably going to vanish if there is a very strong one. And the new builds, the new ones that have been built since 2005, let's say 2010, are good construction, but I don't think that there is really something made for the anti-earthquake system like you can find in Japan or in LA, or where they are really waiting for a big thing. It's minor.
I'm aware of that in Chile, for example. They're very, very strong legislations and also constraints regarding new constructs. It is one of the best constructions which you can find in the world, maybe together with San Francisco and with Japan. I'm wondering about the trends in the architects or in the new and also maybe refurbished renovation projects. What do right now your customers and also in general people desire when they do a reconstruction and maybe a renovation? Is it going from 3-bedroom apartments to 1 because they want to upgrade to a different clientele, especially when they rent out? Is it more about making more rooms out of one bedroom apartment in order to squeeze in more students? Is it to, as you say, go more luxury? What is basically that trending right now in the market, if you see a pattern?
So I'm not God, so I don't know everything. But from what I see, yes, I see this. The way of living in Portugal in the past, so in the buildings that were made between the 40s to the 90s, are very similar. It's every room is separated, living room, kitchens. You can visit a lot of apartments where all the water pipes are along the facade. So you have the kitchen and the bathroom that are together. Sometimes the bathroom is even on the balcony, the marquise, what they say. And so that's the pattern of the construction, how it was. So now a lot of people want to modernize the apartment for the way of living of today. So they want rooms that are bigger to get more light and things like this. So usually they join kitchen and living room, which that's why I was talking about breaking a wall. It's to make a space that is a bit more livable. So that happens a lot. This issue that I was talking about of the water pipes on the facade is a problem because now we are living with bathrooms that are with a mechanic ventilation, with no windows. We put them in a dark area in the center of the building because the water pipes on the facade, it's a problem. So there is a lot of apartments that could be nice, but actually you cannot work with. And if you visit apartments in Lisbon, if you are looking for something like this, you will notice them. They are all more or less the same. After, in terms of style, we are in Portugal. People like terracotta, people like azulejos. They like a raw material that are very nice in Portugal. I personally like cork. You can find cork trees in Sintra. It's very known for that. And I think in architecture, it gives things that are very nice. For fitness room, for example, instead of using plastic floor, you can use natural. It's more ecological, and it's the look looks very nice. And the Portugal has developed this technology a lot. Now you can do even a bathtub in a cork. You can do a sink in cork. It's super light. It looks very nice. It's of course, in terms of design, it's very constraining. You cannot put this everywhere, but it's nice.
Regarding, sometimes you have investment policies or schemes from the government to maybe enhance the economy and maybe go and create more projects. Is there something like that for a normal 9-to-5 worker who says, you know what, I would like to do something on my house? Is there any scheme right now?
Not that I'm aware of. The population reproached the government a lot that they didn't gave some of properties they possess. They didn't furnish the market, gave the market those properties that they possess that are empty, where we could make people live and lower the prices. They said that it would be the private market that would change and help to reduce the rents and things like this. So the municipality owns a lot of buildings, but they are unoccupied, and for now they don't want to provide it. So, and concerning a subvention and a help in terms of taxes and things like this, the only thing that has happened recently is that if you are under 35 years old and if you buy a property, for this you need to see a tax lawyer to know the precise number, but there is a cap. But you don't pay the IMT. IMT is the transmission tax. When you buy an apartment, the major tax, it's up to 8%. So it's consequent. If you're under 35 and you buy on your own name, you don't pay it. It's to push the young people to buy an apartment and live here. Because one of the challenges of the Portuguese government, in my opinion, is to make all those young people like me, like friends of mine that came to live in Portugal, to stay here, because maybe they will live here 5 years, 10 years, and they're gonna go back to their country. But Portugal provide them an atmosphere, something for them to have success, and they want them to stay here. So that's why they are pushing them to buy apartments.
One more question regarding the market dynamics in the construction area. Is there anything, do you think, which can or which might change it so that the dynamic and the power of the construction companies will get a little bit less and there's more competition, maybe new entrants, maybe something regarding educational programs, apprenticeships, anything else, so that we basically don't have this strong power distribution towards the construction companies, so that they basically take advantage of the small people, the individuals who just want to have their apartment refurbished or renovated?
The problem is not so much that there is no construction company, is that there is no good construction company. There is, as an individual, you will find a lot of construction companies that will be ready to work for you immediately, which is actually, in my opinion, the bad side. Because if a construction company tells you, I'm ready to work right now, it means they have no work. Because my construction company, I need to warn them 6 months in advance for them to keep me a seat. And I'm working with them a lot. Someone else, they say they are full. Good construction companies, they actually don't really need new clients, except if they have a desire of growth. But it's very difficult to grow. You are putting yourself in danger. You need to manage more team. You need to supply the material. It's having a construction company. It's a nightmare, in my opinion. It's very, very complicated. So when they have a healthy organization where they can pay everyone correctly, pay themselves correctly, have decent margin and things like this, they want to preserve it. They want to leave it like this.
Makes sense.
Of course, everybody's dreaming to build a tower of 25 floors and things like this as a construction company, I mean. But it stays as fantasies, you know? So sometimes you go meet a construction company and they are ready, they go work for you. At the beginning, everything goes well because you have no expertise, so you cannot really judge. And when you get at the end, this is where you start to understand that it was wrong, that there was no planning, that they're going to start lying to you. And this is where you regret to not have seen a lawyer for drafting a construction contract that was more at your advantage. And yeah, this is something I learned with time. When you are very careful, when you buy an apartment, you are very careful of the CPCV. The CPCV, it's the contract that's between you and the seller, between the buyer and the seller. That guarantees that you're going to buy the property. So you are very careful of this. You can put conditions and things like this to withdraw because there is a down payment. So you are very careful of that. And after you are an owner, you possess the property. And the construction company is giving you a standard contract, and you're like, oh, it's okay. No, it's not. Actually, this contract is much more important. Why? Because you're going to spend with them 12 months, 14 months, sometimes even more. So you need to be way more careful at this stage of the construction. I didn't negotiate in my first contract of construction, and now I don't start a construction without negotiating this contract. It's super important. Delay fees, do you want a bank guarantee? You need to have weapons on your side for your construction company to comply when you're not satisfied, especially in terms of timing. For me, timing is very important. It's the most important.
What should be, and it's amazing that you started talking about the buying process, because that's exactly where I wanted to lead the conversation to. What do you think, let's say you want to buy something, what do you think regarding the contract and the negotiation should be in? And give us maybe there an example so that we have something tangible with an imaginary project or a certain property, something you choose, so that we can basically guide along your process or be guided along your process.
So let's start from the beginning. First of all, we need to explain how the real estate market works. There is, between most of the transaction, there is a 5% that is a commission for real estate. So what I believe is that you should not do this on your own at any stage. we say that the commission of the mediation commission is paid by the seller. Actually, it's a bit a trick because the seller has a property, he has a good, and the buyer has cash. So who's paying? It's the buyer. So the buyer is paying the commission, but we say that it's the seller. It starts on the wrong foot, in my opinion. So first of all, you should have a real estate agent. It's very important because he's aware of the city, he's a local. For example, if there is a new station of a tube, of metro that is going to be built, he's going to be aware. You won't, because you are not from the city. If this district is not it's not a good district, at night, let's say, it's not good. If you are in a prostitution area, if you are in a zone where there is drug dealers, or there is too much, or there is a nightlife, maybe you don't want to buy there, but you don't know. So that's good to have a real estate agent that is good. And it's difficult to find because there is a lot of real estate agents that are only interested in you buying the maximum price, even if they represent you. So you need to find a real estate agent that you trust and that can help you. That's important. And it's going to also teach you the different steps of the process. Tell you when to take a lawyer, drive you to a notary that can maybe speak your language, those things. And also after, when you visited an apartment, what I advise is to do multiple visits. You go one day when it's sunny, because if you have a good real estate agent, you will visit the first time when it will be sunny. Because the business is done when it's sunny. So go back when it's raining. Go back at night. Go back in the morning. Stay there. Go walk in the district. I know it seems stupid, but you will discover things, you know? You need to accelerate the fact that, like if you were living there, you know? So you need to find where you do groceries, where do you, as a Swiss, French speaking, where do you buy bread, where there is schools, these type of things, you know? For example, you don't like kids shouting. If there is a kindergarten next to you, it's gonna be a problem for you. Those things you need to know. So you need to do multiple visits. So that's the first thing. You need to, at the beginning, start with a real estate agent that you trust. And for him to provide you the good information, he will, if you are in trust feelings, he's going to ask you to do exclusivity. And you should sign this exclusivity because you should entirely rely on him. That it is me or someone else. But sometimes they don't dare asking you to do exclusivity and things like this. It's a bit technical, and I don't know if we really have the time to explain everything of that, but an agent that doesn't have exclusivity is going to be less efficient and propose you less goods that are fitting to you, because sometimes he can't. So that's something that you should be aware. The word of exclusivity is something that actually helps you, not only him. Okay, it guarantees him that he's going to make a sale with you, but it's not what is important. What is important is how you are going to benefit of it. And
what are the conditions of such a normal exclusivity contract?
So not all the agencies are doing this, but when you are a small agency like mine, when you have a client, to get sure to receive the commission, you need to sign something called a CMI, is Contrat de Mediação Imobiliária, that shows that you were mandated by this person to do a research. And this contract, so it's a standard contract provided by the authorities, the administration of the real estate administration. And this asks if you are in exclusivity or not exclusivity. It's a second contract that says, if you say that you're in exclusivity, that says, okay, just François Angel is looking for me. And then it's, if let's say you looked on your own on some websites, on things like this, when you click on a link, your account and your name is going to be connected directly with a real estate agent that you are not aware, that you don't know. This is in the background. So you will be registered on a listing, but you are not aware. But the real estate agent, when he will find this apartment that you liked, he will ask to make a partnership with the other real estate agent, and the real estate agent is going to say, no, I'm sorry, but this client is already listed with one of our real estate agents. If he wants to visit it, It has to be with this one and not you. So you're not paid as a real estate agent. So the real estate agent doesn't have the incentive on proposing you this because he's not going to propose you things where he's not paid. That's why if you don't sign the exclusivity, you will never know, but you will miss opportunities because your intermediary, the person in the middleman, is not going to be paid. That's why the exclusivity contracts remove all those things that could have happened before. There is other cases, but this is the most common. So it's to avoid to miss opportunities, it's good to give the full trust. And you don't have to do the exclusivity forever. You can do 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. Generally, it's 1 year. But you can do 6 months. It's very common. And you can always break the contract with saying with a register letter if you're not satisfied. So it's a help for the real estate agent. And actually, it's a help for you too.
Regarding the negotiation in general, then, like, how do I build leverage? What do I have to take care of? And what are basically elements which definitely should be considered?
So, first of all, in Portugal, when you do an offer, you are not bound to it. So let's say you are selling an apartment. I want to buy, but this apartment is not what I'm dreaming about. And the price you're asking is, in my opinion, very high. So I'm going to make an offer that can be sometimes even 50% under. You will take this as an offense. But for me, it doesn't matter. It's a business. So it's nothing sentimental, nothing against you. And who knows? Maybe you are having a divorce. Maybe you need cash immediately. Maybe, I don't know how the other party is, what state he is in. Maybe he needs money, and you never know. Maybe he's going to say yes. Or maybe he's going to make a counter offer that is much lower than what he asked first. So, because you are not bound to it, even if the guy says yes to your offer, you don't have to pay. So, it means that you need for every apartment you visit, you need to make an offer. Because who knows, maybe you're going to buy an apartment for 25% of the original price. So, okay, it's not going to be the apartment you're going to live in, but you're going to postpone this, make a flip for 1 year and a half. And because you bought very cheap, you're going to sell with some profit and you're going to grow your capital. So that's a strategy.
Because you never know what's going on in the head of the other person.
Exactly, you never know.
What urgency there is and what the life situation is. Mm.
So of course, you need to have a good real estate agent because some real estate agent will not even propose your offer because they will not feel good telling their client that the people are offering half of the price is asking. So that's the first thing. After, in terms of negotiation, you can also make an inspection, as I was saying, by architects and engineer to point out points that are not very good in the apartment. Poor quality windows, some noise, structure that is in a bad shape, humidity problems.
Missing pipes, water leakage, mold.
Exactly. Third thing, sorry. You can also go see a lawyer. A lawyer will make a due diligence. In the due diligence, it's important to know things about the condominium if you buy an apartment, in a building with apartments. Because it gives you an idea of how the condominium is. Sometimes the condominium is a nightmare. The apartment looks amazing, and the apartment is good, but the building it's a nightmare. If the common area are not clean, it means it says something. If some people are not paying, those things. In the book of minutes, you will have an idea, a trend of what's the atmosphere there. And also, sometimes it was bad before, and the person who you're going to buy the apartment to is trying to change the things, and you're going to see it. So okay, it's not perfect, but you see the direction they are trying to take. Or if there is no direction, if no one is not doing anything, if there is only 2 participants every year, how many meetings they do per year? Who is the representative?
This is responsibility of the lawyer and not of the agent, because I would assume this is already like maybe within the scope of the task of the agent.
Honestly, I would say that you don't do anything in real estate in Portugal without a lawyer. Really, take this as an order. Lawyers are not so expensive, and they will provide you information that are crucial. As we said at the beginning, even if your real estate agent is good, he is not on your side. There is a conflict of interest. He's on your side, but it's the seller that is paying the commission. Even if it's you, it's the seller. So he's not totally representing you. He has the incentive on making the sale. So sometimes he's going to push you very often. They're going to tell you, oh, there is someone else that wants to buy the apartment. You need to buy quick, make your decision quick, and finish. That's the worst, because you like the apartment and you don't want to let it go. You should not do the things quickly. That's also a big mistake. You need to take time for due diligence. You need to go to the archives and things like this. To go to the archive, to take an appointment at the archives, it takes 2 months. So it's up to 2 months. So there already you know that the buying process takes time. And if someone else buy the apartment and faster than you, without making all the verification and things like this, then very well. He's taking the risk, the very high risk, and he might buy something he can sell that he can't sell after, that has problems, that are illegal, and things like this. But you don't want to be in this type of problems. You want to do the things how they are supposed to be done. And if it takes time, it takes time. And you're not going to speed yourself, spend hundreds of thousands to please a real estate agent. That's okay, you like, but what is more important is the nature and the safety of your investment. So a lawyer will be here to help you to calm down your temper and your emotion.
Prior to our call, you said something very good, which was never expect a real estate investments to be free of work and easygoing. There's always something to be happening. And I assume you also imply by saying that you want to reduce all this huge bucket of tasks which then come up afterwards, and it basically becomes a nightmare. And you just said, if I had not done that, my life wouldn't be as miserable as right now.
Yes, more you secure yourself before buying the property or before the construction starts, something like this, safer you are after. And it's always harder to solve a problem when it's on your hands, on your responsibility, than to predict the problem and accept the risk or not. Because sometimes you're going to find a property, it's not perfect, your lawyer is going to raise some warning, tell you that there are some green, red, orange flags and things like this, and you can still decide to buy. Doesn't mean that it's that because there is some warning, you don't go for it. But you need to be aware of it. It helps you to calculate the margin that you are going to do in terms of time, but also in terms of money. It's not only or white or black or white. Sometimes it's a bit more gray, and I don't like to have surprises. I like when the project is handled and feel like this. I had someone I know before told me you need to dominate your project. So you don't need to have surprise. And when you are doing your planning, if there are some things that are a bit sketchy, it's okay. You are aware and you are here to handle it,
Proper risk management, not doing things hastily and taking your time. And if it's gone, it's gone. That's fine. That's then maybe destiny, and there are many more opportunities.
Yeah, exactly.
You can actually say, like, there's this one word where you say, or this one saying is like, never run after real estate investment. There's always another one coming, like a bus you're basically not running after. There's always another one coming. So Be mindful, because once you got it, you have it. Tell us a little bit about the CPCV and the promissory sales contract. What is it? How important is it? How legally binding is it? What does it include? So that also the audience can understand when in the buying process will happen that? And why should I, or why do I have to sign it? Who will sign it? And what basically is the entire scope of it?
So the promissory contract, the CPCV, what we were talking about before, is in Portugal very important. There is, first of all, there is a down payment of more or less 10%. It depends. And you can have conditions. We'll come to the condition later. First of all, what we need to know is that in Portugal, there is no escrow account. So when you pay a down payment, you transfer it directly to the account of the seller. So for foreigners, it's a bit not very reassuring because you would like to have something a bit more safe. You are in a unknown field, so that's it. There are some notary and some lawyers that are providing this service, exchanging a fee. It's not very common, but it happens for people who really need it. But it's the culture, and it's not going to change. And it works actually pretty fine. When you sign that, the seller and the buyer are bound to each other. If the seller wants to stop selling it to you, he needs to refund you twice your down payment. And if you want to not buy anymore, you need to leave your down payment. That's the bounding. But there are some conditions. For the people that have loans sometimes, if you want to reserve your property, because for example, a seller, you are doing your due diligence. You are doing something very deep. You want to go to the archives, check everything. The archives, it's an old building. The archives are cold archives. They need to put it out. It can take very long. So you can, it has happened to me, make a CPCV and saying, okay, everything we agree on everything with the condition of having a satisfying due diligence, which is actually a vague way to cancel it. And then the bounding goes away. You don't need to leave your thing like this, your down payment and so on. So you can put condition, but the seller doesn't have to accept it. Sometimes they don't accept, so that's it. So the CPCV normally is drafted by the buyer. I mean, I'd like to draft my CPCV or to make my CPCV drafted by my lawyer. But the sellers are going to try to give you a CPCV that is standard, and you shouldn't accept it. You should draft your own. It's okay, it's going to cost you a bit more money and things like this, but at least you're going to, once again, dominate what's going on. They're not going to dissimulate something or try to make you sign something that is not at your advantage. So it's going to cost you 3-4 hours of drafting something. It's nothing compared to the problem you can have. And once it's signed, you are going to be like, now the sale is going to be done. You have 15 days of direito de preferência, meaning that at that price, the price you agreed on with the buyer, between the buyer and the seller, the government can buy the property before you. They have 15 days to intervene. So it's a way for them to, if there is something archaeological, if they have an interest on that place, or also to avoid corruption. If there is a lot, let's say there is a property that costs 1 million and you put 500,000 cash, suddenly the municipality sees that, oh, for that building at 500,000, because the 500,000 cash doesn't appear, it's a super nice opportunity. So the government buys, and you lost your 500,000 on the table. It has happened.
It's interesting. So basically, the government always gets like an alert, like, okay,
yes,
right now there is
and there are 15 days
transaction going to happen. Take it or leave it. Interesting.
Exactly. And also, during that direita de preferência, if there was a tenant, someone who was renting an apartment in this building, if it's a building to sell, and out of one of these apartments, there is a tenant that is here for more than 2 years, the tenant also have this preemption right. So, if you are living in an apartment for 2 years, you can buy this building at that price.
Does the landlord is he obliged to inform the
Yes.
tenant?
Yes.
And the tenant has the right to buy it at that price. This actually is a very interesting and good way of making sure that, as you say, like cash is not being transferred on the black market outside of the tax.
Exactly, but it happens. I heard stories where some people they bought a building for very cheap because there was an agreement between two parties, and he catch the thing very fast, and he bought something very cheap, and there is nothing they can say because it's like this. So it's a way to regulate the forbidden things, let's say, illegal things.
Anything else I have to take care in the CPCV regarding conditions?
There is many. I'm not a specialist on a loan, but loan you need a pre-approval, so you will go and make a pre-approval, but it doesn't mean you're gonna have the approval. They're gonna tell you yes, you might, but you never have the guarantee. So sometimes there is people sign a CPCV, they have their pre-approval, and after the bank doesn't give you the loan, so you lose you cannot buy anymore. So you lose your down payment. So you can put clauses to avoid that. That if your pre-approval is not if your loan is not accepted, then you get this money back and things like this. But once again, the seller might not accept it.
Sometimes it is also the banks in some countries, because I'm doing the podcast for various countries. In some countries, it's the bank actually also giving a price on the property. Is that the case here as well?
Yes, here also they don't give a price. They confirm that the price is okay, that it's matching the reality of the market. So they do an inspection, they go visit, they measure everything, they look if it match what's on the plans, to see if everything is legal and things like this. And they say, okay, the price is okay concerning the market, because of course they don't want to lend money to someone that is going to buy something 5 times too expensive. It doesn't make sense. So they regulate the market like this.
Do banks also provide mortgages for foreigners in Portugal?
So, as I said, I am not a professional on this, but I think they do. But the money you need to bring is, I think, higher. But for this, I can help. If someone is interested in this, I can help and drive them with people I trust and people I know in the bank.
Yeah. So basically, down payment is definitely higher. You said 10% is down payment is very low, and then probably like for foreigners with a less of a track record, it's like maybe 20 to 40 even, and then potentially also the interest rate is much higher because it's the risk which is burdened by the bank. I understand. What happens after the CPCV? Let's say everything goes smooth. I got my assessment, I got my appraisal. Check. Then I just go and transfer the rest, and we go to the notary and sign, or how
exactly.
Can I imagine?
So the CPCV, first of all, can be signed at a notary or at a lawyer. Usually it's signed at a lawyer. After the Diretra de Preference finished, you can go sign the final deed. That will be the deed of property, the proof of property. You go sign this at a notary. Every party has to be present, and you go there with a bank check that you give to the notary, and you pay. You need to pay on site, and when this meeting is over, when everybody signs, you are the happy owner of a new property.
Hopefully.
Yeah. But
what are the documents which I then get handed over? Land registry, sales contract, ownership certificate of ownership. What can I? So
the documents are provided during the CPCV. The CPCV is attached with something called CPU. It's called Carnet Predial Urban. It's the tax registration. There is also the land registration that is called Certidão Permanente. And that's the mandatory ones. And there is the energetic certificates. That are the 3 mandatory ones. After, you can put other things, book of minutes, other things in the CPCV, but those three are the most important, the mandatory ones. Once you sign the final deed, the notary is going to take care of changing your name and things like this on the tax registration and the land registration. After a while, you will be able to go on internet and take those papers for you that you need to renew. The certidão permanent, you need to have it valid for the last 6 months. If you do sell, but if you live in your apartment and you don't need it, you don't need to renew it because it costs you money every year. It's not necessary.
Then I have my real estate. You mentioned before for the ones younger than 35
Yes.
that they don't have to pay the 8% taxes. The normal stamp tax, which is called in different countries like stamp tax, is 8% for everyone. And
So-
then tell us maybe also about taxes.
Yes, I forgot
on
to mention this. There is also this part at the notary. When you give your bank check, you need also to pay taxes. The major two tax are stamp duty, that is 0.8%, and IMT, Imposto Transaction Tax, Transmission Tax. And it's up to 8%. It's layers, but it's up to 8%. So this, you have different ways to optimize it and not pay it to get refunds and things like this. That's a bit more technical. If you invest on your own name, the only way you cannot pay it is right now if you are under 35. This law might change. Maybe you are watching this in 10 years. This law might not exist anymore. But today in 2024, it's like this. If you're a company, if you buy as a company, when you on the final deed, it's written compra e vendas under the name of compra e vendas, the way you buy it, meaning that it's for buying and resell. You can have optimization, meaning that, for example, if you scale up of 2 grades, the energy certificate, let's say if you go from C to B, because there is B minus and B, 2 grades, you get the IMT refund. If
within how long?
it can, alors, you have, for the company, it's 3 years. I think if you do this you can do this on your personal name also, but I think it's 1 year also, sorry. But I'm not sure of this. I do this under my company name, so it's this is how I know. Now I'm trying to think about other things of taxes. Yes, if you invest X amount, so all your costs, and you sell a Y amount, and if you reinvest after, within a year, you don't pay capital gain on the X minus on the Y minus X. So that's interesting if you want to make a capital spin in investment. You have a way to pay a capital gain just at the end. So that's interesting as a company.
Are there any annual taxes afterwards? Like
Yes.
flat fee, not linked to my cash flow generating income, just
Yes.
on the property?
There is the I don't know the name in English, but you need to pay something as IMI. It's the tax of the property every year. And if it's a company, you have IMI and AIMI, which are based on the value from the tax registration that is most of the time very much lower than the price, the price market.
Okay.
So it's around, for a 150 meter square apartment, it's around 250 euros per year.
Mm-hmm. It reminds me a little bit of Colombia and Latin America, where you basically have the cadastral market, or cadastral price and the market price.
It's exactly like this.
Market price obviously is the market, and then the cadastral price is outdated, basically. That's why it's normally lower, because they don't really readjust that.
Exactly.
You mentioned one very interesting point, which is paramount in markets like Switzerland and Germany, which is the energy certificate. I wasn't even aware that something like this exists here. I spoke lately to a real estate agent in Germany, and he said, as an agency in Germany, you're not allowed to provide a listing to upload on your listing page without an energy certificate. It is very, very strict. And I don't know if you're aware of that. In Germany, you have very strong policies right now in terms of renovating, isolation, making everything as green as possible.
Same in Switzerland.
And is that happening? Is that a topic in general in Portugal? Can I make, first and foremost, money with it? Is it maybe a hole or a money hole for me if I invest the wrong property or buy the wrong property because I'm not aware of that? How can I imagine right now the situation there?
So first of all, energy certificate, as I say, is mandatory for any sale. It's mandatory. In this energy certificate, you have a lot of specification of the property, but you also have advice on how to improve it. So that's the way they do to push people to make their property better. As I said, if you do a flip, if you scale up the grade, you can get tax deduction. That's the only thing that exists. In Portugal, the topic of ecology is a bit different. There is no isolation. The heating is very expensive. So people don't use heating at winter. It's very rare. There is, but we use it only, honestly, 2 hours per day during February. Middle 15th of January and 15th of February, we use it 2 hours per day. And it's not even mandatory. So, and there is no isolation on the walls, just the roof. So the ecology is not so developed as Switzerland, for example. The AC there is AC machine everywhere and things like this, which is not like this in Switzerland, for example. So I would not say that the ecology system and environment is the most developed. I met a lot of people that wants to invest in this area, but I'm not very familiar with it, and I don't know about the demand of it. I never met someone who wanted to buy a house telling me, it has to be ecological and things like this.
That was also my question, because in the end, like, it is, especially if I buy an apartment in a condominium or an entire building, first and foremost, I don't have a lot of impact on it. It's an old building, and second of all, it's probably the energy certificate probably in 90% of Lisbon buildings say the same. That's my assumption. So I'm a bit wondering there. I have another question regarding it, because you are also very much in the construction and outside of properties. You mentioned the other day something very, very interesting, which I would like to go regarding infrastructure and public infrastructure. You can buy and construct maybe the best house, but then you even have to make sure that what is the public sewage canal like, sewage system like, for example, what are things which have an impact on your construction, even though it is actually outside of your scope and your impact. Is there a way of also analyzing that from an architectural point of view or a construction point of view when I do the due diligence before buying?
No, that's what we were talking about when we met the first time. It's all about surveys. You will have a lot of problems to get full described surveys of a property. People, architects and engineers, they will tell you their opinion on what they see. It's impossible to give you a certainty and a warranty on things they don't see. So there is always a risk, but it's limited. If you buy an apartment in the condominium, you will divide the responsibility among everyone. So the costs are not going to be too big. And if you buy a full building or a house, well, it's going to be your own, but you have the full building, so you can intervene much easier. So we are talking about sewage, for example. So if there are problems, it's okay. I don't think it's something limiting in buying a property. If not, no one would buy. But I've seen some things that are sometimes very particular. Normally you are supposed to divide rainwater than dirty water. In some construction, it was joined together, and they were putting the sewage of the toilet in the garden. And someone buys, and he used what was existing, and suddenly there is smells that are horrible. And when we do the inspection with cameras and things like this that cost money, we realized that this was made 40 years ago in very, very badly.
Absolutely.
You always have companies that are doing those inspections, but people usually don't do it because it's very constraining and expensive.
Regarding your own investments, you have some investments yourself. With all your knowledge, couldn't you just go and screen the market and say, interesting, actually, there is something which I see underpriced. I go in, I get some limited partners. I talk like that because I do a lot of interviews from the US, and then I get the money. I reconstruct it and flip it. Goes a little bit also into the flipping. So my question is, do you consider doing those things, screening the market, using your expertise, making something better and then pushing it out? Or are there reasons not to do it because of certain tax elements which you have when we come to the topic of flipping, which is, again, paramount in Germany especially, where you have a break or a very high tax break of, I think, like 30 to 40% if you sell within the first 10 years again. Is there a market opportunity here?
So here in Portugal, the market is pushing for you to do flips, actually. The capital gain is 25% as a company. And you don't have... Actually, it's more the opposite. If you sell in more than 3 years, you lose those benefits of not getting refunds of IMT and things like this. So it's more the opposite. Portugal and Lisbon wanted to rebuild the country. The country was in a bad state in terms of construction and state of elements built. So they wanted to renew. So for now, it has been like this, and it's not leaning on changing.
Basically, I pay 25% capital gain within the first 3 years if I resell again.
But if you sell after 3 years, you will pay the same capital gain. But your profit is going to be different because you don't get this refund of IMT.
And this is the 8%.
Yes, because if you grade up, you grade up two ranks, you're going to have a refund of 8%, which is a lot.
Okay, so basically, I can basically benefit from that in 2 ways. One, the normal appreciation, which I create based on my investment. And then second of all, I also gain with 8%, which is interesting. And there's no real plan to change that.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, and then Portuguese people are wondering why the house prices are and the rent prices are rising.
Exactly.
Okay.
The government has a big incentive they are earning a lot of money with the real estate and construction market. It's huge. So when you go out on Lisbon, you see cranes everywhere. In construction, there is 2 types of zone. One zone is called ARU, Area de Rehabilitação Urbana. It's a rehabilitation zone, urban rehabilitation zone, where you have for construction 6% of tax. And if you are not on this zone, the tax for the construction is 23%. So it means that most of the cities are at 6%. So it's also pushing for the refurbishment and the rehabilitation. You see, because it's a huge difference, 17% on a budget of several 100,000. The difference is huge. So for now, the government is not pushing on a slowdown. It's more we want to continue. There is the tourism in Portugal, but there is also the real estate that they count on. And I don't think it's going to change.
Let me ask you quickly about the architectural market. You are an architect here. You are still a foreigner officially,
I am.
and you don't have the passport yet. How is that right now working for you? Are you eligible to be part of public tenders? Are there public tenders? Are you competing with many people? How many architects are there? And how basically do you differentiate yourself from the entire competition?
So how many architects there are there? I don't really know. It's difficult to know. I know there is a lot, but it's difficult to say. I'm allowed to participate to any public competitions or things like this, except the one that need an invitation. But since I'm here for a while now, that my kids are raised here, they were raised in a public school. We really want to fit in the Portuguese society and culture. I really would like to. I really desire to become Portuguese if they allow me, because I think I'm helping also Portugal. I'm providing jobs. I'm trying to help to do decent architecture, decent construction. Trying to, at my scale, trying to be ecological also. Trying to respect the labor and feel like this. Even if I say that the labor is bad, but when I'm on construction, when I work with good people, we try to do things correctly for the Portugal. So that's why I want to. I would desire to be Portuguese one day. After, in terms of reputation also, I hope that if I become Portuguese will accept, it's a matter of integration. In my field, if I manage to do good things and if I'm Portuguese, I hope that Portuguese architects will also accept me, And I think it's easier to be accepted if you did the effort to learn the language, to fit in the society and things like this, to be accepted among your peers. And that's why we were talking about this earlier on, and that's one of the reasons I would like to be to fit more deeply and administratively on Portugal.
Your biggest nightmare come true in your career and also as an entrepreneur, where you thought like maybe everything was running smoothly, everything is planned, you are a huge planner, you say. Where was a point in your life that you realized, okay, things are totally going wrong and absolutely unexpected?
So I mentioned it earlier. For my first investment, I was using this construction company I was working when I arrived in Portugal because I trusted them and I was inside of their company, so I knew everything from inside. And I told them, okay, I'm going to start to invest, creating my own company of architecture, but I'm going to invest and I would like to be my partner. And we were very happy together. It started, and there is one thing in construction that you need to know, is that a company that subcontracts the labor, it's a bad sign. It's a very bad sign, because there is, after, you will have a problem of responsibility. If you talk with someone that is subcontracting, they're going to tell you, oh, no, it's not my fault. And they're going to say it's the fault of this guy, and this guy, you don't deal with him. And in the end, the one that has problem is you, and there is no solution. So you need someone responsible. So they were having their own labor. But for this construction, they started to subcontract. And I was not aware of this problem. So, and the subcontractors were really, really bad. They were very, very slow. They were doing everything twice or three times sometimes. They had to restart and things like this. And they were not taking care of the details, the finishings. I wanted to do something luxury. I had little pavement of 10 by 10. They were all not flat. It was really, really a problem. And I'm thinking about this thing that became a nightmare. It's when I realized is that we ordered travertine. Travertine, it's expensive. It takes time to produce. It was on the third floor with no elevator, so it's long time to bring up. When it's on site, you need to be careful because it's a luxury product. It's a finishing. You need to be. It's a problem. It's good when it's finished. But to put in place, it's a problem. So he does the floor, he do the level, and he pretends that everything is doing correctly, and I see that it's not going well. And it took to do 7 meters square, honestly, 1 month and a half. It was a quarter of the construction, and this was 10 meters square out of 150. And when he finished, there was not a single tile that was at the same level than another. You couldn't walk there by like doing this with your feet. Well, you couldn't, because you would drip everywhere. There was some gaps of this high, half a centimeter, out of a tile that is 2 centimeters. So, and there I understood, okay, the problem is real. Now I have an investment. I need to sell or rent as soon as I can. In this case, I wanted to sell. We need to order the stone again and things like this. And suddenly the manager of the subcontracted company stopped paying the workers. So I was paying a company that was paying another company money, and this guy stopped paying and disappeared. So I was late. The construction company I was working with was paid but was running out of money. And I had to push people for them to go faster, but they had no money. And when you pressure the people to go faster, they do the work badly. And on the construction, they can really, if you get too upset or something like this, they can, like, on your back, put a little sand in the tubes and things like this, things you will never find out. And after 2 years, you're going to have problems because this guy that you argued and say he was too slow started to work behind your back, or not on your profits. So there, I started to think, oh my God, I am alone in a country that I don't really know. I have no alternative. That was a mistake of mine. I should have planned before, but I was naive, and I was coming from Switzerland where you can trust people, and so I trusted them, and it didn't went well. But actually, if I had to redo it, I would redo it exactly the same, because this taught me how today provide a service that is good and how to control people, to see how someone is working well, how I can trust someone. You know, that trust is something you earn and that you are not due. And that's it. And this is how I found my partner in construction today. That is very good. We don't have a single argument. He delivers my construction in advance. I've never heard that. When the last construction finished 3 weeks in advance. Honestly, I've never heard that. When my customer is saying that to everyone, it's never seen. And this happened twice. So it's for me it's good because it's a good advertisement, and for him it's amazing. And so I got very lucky. Well, lucky. I worked a lot. I met a lot of them, and I met him. We had a good connection, and we tried with a little construction, and now it works very well. So
I guess when you call it, you paid it forward.
Yes, exactly.
You paid it in advance. You mentioned along all these construction projects, you mentioned before the tendency of flipping. How about cash flow generating projects? Is that also a thing? Would you recommend it? Or if I, let's say, know someone who would like to invest in Portugal, what would be your default suggestion on what idea to invest in?
So I believe I don't teach you anything, but if you are aware of the ambience right now in Europe, and if you are following the news, you know that Portugal is the most attractive place in Europe for real estate. It's the place that has been struck the less by the downfall of the prices and the volume of sale. And the price, a lot of people are saying that the price per meter square is high in Portugal. I believe it's not that high. I think there is still a good margin of progress. There is a market, as said already, but I will repeat. It's safe. There is good schools, good weather, good food. The people are super nice. There is good, very, very good tax system. So the market it's in favor of investing. Second of all, there is also the fact that there is a big mass of foreigners that came, that are ambitious, that have their company here, and that are making money here. So they are also they look for goods where they can live and things like this. So the market is good for real estate. Second of all, I told you the average prime is 10,800 per meter square for the first quarter of 2024, which is compared to other capitals. So we can debate of this, okay, London, it's not Lisbon and Paris, something like this. But in my opinion, Lisbon is more attractive than Paris. And Paris is 22,000 per meter square. Okay, we don't have les Champs-Élysées, we don't have la Tour Eiffel, the Louvre and things like this. But the city is much more attractive by the fact that it's safe. When you want to, I have a family, and for everyone that has a family, it's great to have a place where your kids can walk freely. When your daughter can go at night on a bar or something like this with having no one bothering her, it's a huge plus. So I think the market is good in that way, and also the government is aware of the benefit they have with the real estate. So they don't want to make a huge U-turn and come back, remove those tax privilege. They want to raise the tax of the real estate and things like this. They want this to continue. So it's, in my opinion, good indicators of where the market is going. So
is there a difference between tax residents in Portugal and tax residents who are foreigners and investing in real estate? Is there any benefit for either?
So for foreigners, for people that are tax residents abroad and that are in Portugal, I'm not really aware because I know Portugal. But recently, now it has been removed and they're working on a new one. But there is a status that is called NHR, non-habitual resident, and you have a cap of tax out of your income, including your income from abroad. So for some people, it's very interesting. It's a cap for 10 years at 20%. The last one, the new one, we are waiting for them to do the new laws. It has been frozen in January, and we are waiting for in a few months something new is going to come because they are aware of the attractivity that it brings.
I wasn't aware that they are actually creating like a new program.
It's called NHR 3 because there was NHR 1 where you were coming here for 10 years and you were paying 0. After you were coming here for 10 years and you were paying 20%. And now there was a 2.5, let's say, where you had to invest a certain amount, very high, buying a company with minimum 10 employees and things like this. So it was very technical and the target was very, very small. And now they are doing this NHR 3 that they are working on. So it's going to come back.
François, I thank you a lot for the conversation. I learned a lot. You guided us through your entire journey from starting in Switzerland with your education in Lausanne, with your architectural background, your very strong family purpose and focus, triggering you to move here because of your parents, bringing your wife here and also raising your children. You guided us through the entire process of first and foremost working for a local company where you learned the ins and outs on the ground, and then actually by providing this amazing service already as an employee, taking your clients and creating your own company along the expertise which you have gained. You also provide us a very good overview of the entire architectural landscape right now, like material, the entire building and construction methods which we have in Portugal. You gave us a very good overview of the neighborhoods, which are right now trendy, which not. Price per square meter, we went down the trends right now and regarding real estate buyers and motivations, and also the purposes for that. You gave us a very interesting overview and even really went deep regarding the buying process. We understood very well regarding the importance of negotiation, of assessment, of CPCV, and putting everything and all the clauses into it, and then even going to the notary and signing the entire documents, or all the documents, all the related documents. Then basically a very deep conversation also regarding the taxes, which I really appreciate. I love the way you went deep regarding your nightmare, and also the obstacles and the challenges which everyone has, especially when you're trying your best and then you're waking up and saying, okay, this actually is something which I totally imagined differently. And I don't want to know how you felt that during those months. And then from that, taking the learnings and now having like very strong partners which you can trust. And it's interesting to see actually that in the year 2024, trust on a personal basis is so strong and so important. We think sometimes about crypto and the blockchain and everything's being automated and systemized, but in the end, it's the handshake, which sometimes is more important than everything else. And you also gave us a very good analysis of flipping, which I wasn't aware of, the new NHR, which I wasn't aware of, and also right now the trends and where we think the market is heading. Is there anything you would like to share with the audience as a final thought, concluding words which we haven't touched upon?
I think we did a good path, trying to circle every aspect of the buying and selling process, the construction and things like this. In our company, we try to make the things easier for people who would like to invest. So, of course, we are learning every day. But as you said, we build our relationship on trust and dedication, and also passion, because I didn't talk about that. But maybe you don't see it, but I'm very passionate about what I do, and I love what I'm doing. So I think it's a good thing to end up on this conversation. That if you do things with passion, you'll always get somewhere.
Perfect. How can people contact you?
So you can contact me through my contact that I will give you. You have my LinkedIn, you have my website. We can also display my phone number if you want to call me. And I'm be glad to help you and assist you on a full process. Perfect.
François, thank you so much, owner and also creator from SquareWay in Lisbon. I appreciate the conversation, and we stay in touch.
Yes.
This video is brought to you by HalloCasa. Our tool transforms independent local real estate agents to global real estate agents. Create your own profile for free and get contacted by international investors. Sign up with the link in the description.